Okay, I am now going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Just to bring your attention to the agenda tonight. Number 4, there will be officer elections. I have termed out as chair, so we will be taking nominations and voting on both the chair and the vice chair tonight. I want to go ahead and open the meeting. We are going to have an economic development update from Cindy Perry, and I'm super excited. So Cindy, if you'd like to raise your hand, and this is our Director of Economic Development for the City of Littleton and Community Development. You did a
6 months.
tag team in it there, yeah.
For community development, and that ends tomorrow, though I'll be helping in the transition.
So, and Cindy is so tired of me calling her weekly going, do we have a boutique hotel yet? Do we have a boutique hotel? So I'm hoping that that is part of your update. Nice. Okay, take it away, Cindy.
Well, good evening. Actually, Jamie Crowd is going to do the majority of tonight's presentation. She was a key part of the comprehensive economic development strategy. We call it SED, so you'll probably hear us say that a few times. It's, we love our acronyms. So she'll give an overview of what it is, the process, and really highlight the relevant parts to this body. So we will be available to answer questions. We'll kind of go through this fairly quickly and high level, but we want to be able to have some interactive engagement with all of you.
So, if you don't know what a SEDS is, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, it's basically a roadmap for our department to know what do we need to work on and what, how can we help Littleton kind of hit the future that the community needs. So a benefit of having this strategic strategy or the comprehensive strategy would be it allows for us to be eligible for federal funding as well. Kind of moving into this, I'll just be pretty brief, but give you some background about our process. So we started with some of our studies that we already had and moved into some one-on-one interviews with key stakeholders. That created a benchmark report that we then used to filter into our stakeholder survey. And we used the results from the stakeholder survey to go into a 2-day think tank that the library so graciously let us use for event space. And for the 2-day think tank, we had a variety of participation from residents, business owners, you name it. And we kind of just went over scenarios of what Littleton's future could look like. And then after that, some big themes came into play, and that's what our focus groups were on. So we had 7 different focus groups set aside for kind of industry experts. They were smaller groups for people to talk about that preferred future and how we get there and what kind of things, action items that we can take to make movement within. So all of that came together for our draft, and we decided, we need to hear from a younger demographic. So we went and did a student survey. We heard from LPS, Littleton Public School students, and then Arapahoe Community College students. And then we wrapped all of it up, and we had this final comprehensive strategy that then got adopted from our city council on March 5th. So we are very thankful that they decided to adopt that. One reason we're here today is to say thank you for all the board members that participated. Thank you for your input. Thank you for the time that you took to really help guide a lot of these conversations. We want to keep talking through what this comprehensive strategy could mean for the Arts and Culture Board. This right here is the 6 pillars that we ended up with. So I'll kind of go through each of these very briefly, and then we can kind of chat about collaboration after.
I will highlight, if you can go back one slide, the theme that came out of a lot of the focus work was, we want to focus on Littleton as a creative yet cutting edge small town. So we are a small town. We know that. We recognize the importance of the character of Littleton. So that really became the foundation upon which these pillars were built.
So moving on to the first one, pillar one would be business vitality and adaptability. Kind of to Cindy's point, we know Littleton is just a hub of small businesses, and we want to be able to support our local businesses with knowing that, cost of doing business is rising and things are getting harder. So we're keeping that in mind, and we're trying to think through ways that we can support. And one of those things that came out of that is an incentive policy that I'll kind of mention a little bit later in the slides. So pillar number 2 was to focus on workforce and talent attraction. This is something I think we do fairly well with right now with our education and workforce center partners. So we're going to continue to push for that. Pillar number 3 would be fostering a livable economy. This one, I think, we've heard from a lot of people that we need to find a balance to allow for all generations, all social classes to be able to have a place to live and work here. And so that's kind of what the meaning of that pillar would be. Pillar number 4, this one's an important here for our Arts and Culture Board, would be his enhancing historic character and cultural fabric. So there's a couple things that will be coming out of this. The creation of a Littleton Boulevard sub-area plan is something that we're looking at, specifically community development. We'll be looking at this, and we will be a partner for them. So they're working with a lot of other departments right now to figure out a scope of work for this. And Littleton Boulevard is this feeder into Main Street, right? It has a lot of character and history. And so we want to figure out how to maintain that and also allow for growth over there. So that's kind of the idea there. The next point you can see is enhance culture and tourism strategy and marketing. This will also be a support from economic development.
There's your hotel, Kate.
Yeah. It's in there.
Hey, you wore her down. Well.
Yeah. So that one will be focused on the Visit Littleton campaign that our communications team is working on right now, and we'll be supporting them. Moving into the conduct a boutique hotel feasibility study that we're hoping to do in 2026. So we got a little bit of time before that one, but it is definitely on our radar for downtown or Littleton Boulevard area. And then we're planning to conduct a culture economic impact study. So that will be happening fourth quarter of this year, which is definitely a big one that I think we'll want to, discuss a little bit together after all of this. So
Yeah, we'll comment. So I know that museum, library do work around that, and we would hope to partner with that and enhance that study and really take maybe a deeper dive. So we're looking to partner with all of you on that, and our plan is to start working on that scope of work in Q4 of this year, and then start the work in Q1. So we would award that contract about that time frame. But that is our rough plan. However, we want to work in partnership with library, museum, and this board on that, and in scope development, stakeholder engagement, and all of those things. And that's going to be a great sales tool as we roll into, working on a feasibility study for a boutique hotel. Like, based on the findings here, now we've got kind of some data that we can share with developers, and the feasibility study will, back that up and also help with site selection. So we're looking Littleton Boulevard, downtown area, TBD on exactly where that lands. But that's kind of how those two pieces work together.
In the next pillar, it's supporting industry and investment in city infrastructure. One thing that, you know, has been big for our team is understanding the development review process and making sure that it's clear and flexible for our businesses. This is ultimately the best way to express that our city is you know, friendly to businesses, that we really are fostering support from within our staff. So that is something our member number 3, Brian Garner, who is not here, has been working tirelessly on that, and he has done a fabulous job. And so we're going to continue to work on that and make sure that economic development is does have a say in the flexibility of the review process. And then kind of back to the incentive policy that I had mentioned earlier, we had adopted a incentive policy back in 2016. Since then, things have changed a lot. There have been a lot of changes in Littleton. So we think it's worth readdressing and trying to realign that with, you know, the goals of the city. And so we're going through a process currently to get a consultant to relook at our incentive policy and see, you know, excuse me, overall, where we can tweak some things to make it just that much easier for the businesses to get support.
And we would design that policy to support areas where the city wants development to happen, Littleton Boulevard being one of them. That's really our last corridor outside of Broadway, which is currently being studied. So, you know, does this incentive policy lean here? Are we leaning towards, you know, creative industries along the boulevard? So the policy will really take a deeper dive and make sure that, you know, as we're incentivizing businesses or projects coming in, that, you know, it aligns with all of the goals, like Jamie said.
And then our last pillar, regional economy positioning, we just want to be, you know, a more active player within the state. We want to make sure that we're really engaging with the other municipalities around us, and we're all very cohesive. We understand that something in Littleton can help Inglewood, and Inglewood can have effects on us as well. So just making sure that we're doing our part there.
And an example of how economic development plays a role in that is, I don't know, one of you, I think, introduced me to CBCA. So we've been engaging with them for some time. We also are involved in the South Metro Denver Chamber, and they're like, well, who are they and what do they do? So we invited them to an event here in Littleton, and they presented to those chamber members on what they can do. So, you know, trying to make those connections and really help spread the word. South Metro Denver Chamber has an elevated interest in regional tourism. So, you know, that's something that we're really pushing for and participating in those conversations. So that's an example of what we do to support this pillar.
Here's just kind of a breakdown of some of the things we'll be working on in the next couple of years. There's a lot there, so we won't go through all of them. But if we look tired next time you see us, that might be why. So yeah, the last slide's really just to wrap up, right? So we talked already about both of these, but we figured that the economic impact assessment of arts and culture in Littleton, along with the hotel feasibility assessment, will be two big things that we will want to have partnership and collaboration with you all. And so we'd really kind of like to dive into any questions you have about that. Before we do that, we do have a video that we created with a production company just to kind of highlight some of the assets of Littleton and to explain that we're, you know, a fabulous place to do business here, and so we'd love to share it if the audio works. Here, so this might be a test. No, it's on my computer.
We could send an email.
Well, that's not gonna work, but it's in the link to, if you guys send out this slideshow, it's linked in there, so. Just one of the things that we're doing to try to help market Littleton is a great place to live and a great place to work, so. Trying to move back on to this slide here. Is there anything any questions?
I would just mention for the benefit of particularly of our two new board members, the economic impact assessment of arts and culture that economic development is going to be doing, I think will fit really nicely with the arts and culture master plan that this board is commissioning this year. And it's going to do a little update on kind of where we are with that piece right now. But the goal would be to have the arts and culture master plan finished by the end of this year, which would dovetail nicely with our startup time. So I think we'll have that as a nice resource for them going forward too.
Any questions for economic development? Yes.
So I really appreciate the feasibility study of the hotel. I think, yeah, there's lots of people that really. So I had two parts. First, do we have any early like census data on how the hotel that just got built on the north side of outskirts of downtown Littleton, like how it's sitting?
How it's performing.
Yeah.
Our data is a little old on that, but it's performing okay. The hotels on County Line have rebounded from COVID fairly well. So in our conversations with them, they are performing well. We haven't benchmarked them with neighboring locations, and that would be part of this. You know, and obviously a boutique hotel is geared towards a different audience. And, you know, we just went to a conference last week and it's all about downtowns, and we can't host here because we don't have a place for folks to stay. And there's, you know, the feasibility study will be looking at that as well. If we had heads and beds, what else could we do? What would that generate for our downtown? So it's, you know, it would look at the branded hotels as well as like what a boutique hotel might produce here.
Sure. I was just wondering because there had been some data that the developer, the company, you know, I think that's Wood Springs or whatever is that made them decide to buy that land and build that hotel. So I was wondering if you could kind of like dovetail that data to some degree, even if it's a boutique hotel that says we're at pretty much occupancy, you know, on the weekends or something that could maybe speed up, because I'm a little impatient, that could kind of speed up that feasibility study.
Yeah, and it's all about timing. So, you know, we want to make sure we have the data from the economic impact study to kind of, you know, partner with that. If it happens in early 26, you know, that could be potential. It's a budgeting issue as well. And I will say Woodbridge, I think is it. It's very different audience and market than, you know, what we would propose for a boutique hotel. So it's serving kind of a different segment of the population.
Is that the one on Santa Fe, like right on Santa
Yeah.
Fe?
Santa Fe and Prince.
Yeah.
So one question, just to know how it works, but if a developer came in and said, hey, we bought a piece of land wherever, right, within Littleton, and we want to build a boutique hotel, would we ask them to wait until we do a feasibility
no.
study, or we?
Oh, goodness, no.
Okay, okay.
No. I mean, we've had conversations with some hotel developers, and, you know, they're asking for the data. Obviously, they have resources too, and they
Yeah.
do this, but if we're going to be proactive and start shopping, you know, different developers that we would like to see, like we have a handful of names, thank you, Kate, that we think would be good partners. But we need to be able to provide them with meaningful data, and, you know, that demonstrates, you know, commitment to working with the partner.
So are you also working with the building department here in Littleton so that they are on board with this? I know there's been a lot of turnover
Yeah.
in the, since COVID, and the building department slow a lot of things down. So
We
are you
are,
prepared
and
for
Jamie
that?
alluded to some work that the city's doing. It's called Design the Future. And it's a staff-led process that's looking at all of every step that we take. So there is a process improvement initiative underway. A lot of recommendations came out of that work. So staff is in the process of now implementing that. We do have a new director that is starting on Monday. So that's going to be a very high priority for him. His name is Matt Knight. He works with the city. And he is the current development services manager. So he has a substantial amount of experience in that world. So we acknowledge that there is work to do there. And we communicate regularly with developers on those processes and where we're trying to get to. And, our role as economic development is to be the liaison with the development community and just try to troubleshoot and, find the right connection within the city. So we know that that's a challenge and we're working through that. And Mike, do you want to?
Yeah, well, and just kind of to add to that, we're talking about doing a feasibility study for hotels to try to help them understand what's available here in Littleton and why they might want to come here. Sometimes we hold on to stories from our past longer than we should. And the story that the building department, which is the community development department, includes building safety planning and other parts of helping permits go through the city, is actually doing a really good job. We have incredibly talented staff that are really focused on helping move our city forward. And so you don't have to take my word for it because I'm biased. I get that, but for example, Costco is coming to the city, and they've been incredibly grateful for the partnership that they've observed as they come here. I shouldn't say they're coming to the city. They're working on coming to the city. Until they actually go vertical, it's tough to say anybody's here, right? But the same thing with communities. There's quite a few things that have gone on through the city that are going very well. So while we have lots of opportunity for improvement, anybody who kind of experienced something 10 years ago or 5 years ago,
Or 3 years ago?
it's a different story today. It really
great.
is.
That's good to hear.
And we're getting incredibly positive feedback for the changes that we are making and whatnot. And so when you're talking to the hotels and whatnot, make sure you say, hey, I've heard they've made some real improvements. I think you're gonna like working with them.
Great.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mike.
I have two.
Okay.
The first one, looking at slide 4, the enhancing historic character and cultural fabric. Of the 4 cutting edge actions, what's funded right now?
So. Oh, the Littleton Boulevard, some area.
Yeah. So Littleton Boulevard Sub-Area Plan, we are cobbling funds to get going. So the scope of work is in development right now in partnership with planning, our transportation planners and planning and city management office plus economic development. So that should be actually coming to the first scope review is going to be before Historic Preservation Board on Monday, and then it's going to Planning Commission just for a study session. So we anticipate that work to start this year. The cultural tourism strategy marketing is happening. Visit Littleton is being ramped up.
Is that
Tier
all, that's all tier 3?
And they are working with a consulting firm that's doing all the ad buys and all of that, so that's happening. And then the boutique hotel feasibility study will be at a future budget cycle. The economic impact study will be funded in 25.
Awesome, thank you. And my second question was, can you elaborate a little bit on what you see the partnership between economic development and this plan specifically and the Arts and Culture Board looking like? When you say working together, what does that look like and how can we be prepared to support?
Yeah, I think, as we go through scope development, we would work on with city staff on that and then bring a draft scope to this body and see if are there any gaps in that work. Obviously, as we're doing outreach and implementing the work, your input on who should we be talking to? Are we missing any segment of arts and culture as part of the stakeholder group? So that's kind of how I envision.
Thank you.
And if you have any money, that'd be great.
Actually, Cindy and I actually have talked about potentially partnering on because that study is not, neither of those studies is actually in the budget right now. So we have talked about potentially partnering on the funding piece of either or both of those. So that more to come probably as we go forward.
Thank you.
Noah and I are gonna break out our piggy banks for the.
If there's one thing about
I
the
got one
arts,
Bitcoin to
it's
give
that
you.
there's something.
Okay, anything else before we move on? So we do have some new faces, and I want to make sure we address those new faces before we move on to Colleen Norton, who is one of the new faces here tonight. So Colleen Norton is our city clerk. I would like to welcome Mike Gent, who is our deputy city manager. So that's who spoke to those issues. And then I'd like to welcome both Tim and Joni to the board. Welcome, we're super excited. We're gonna have you guys do your bios later on in the meeting, probably close to old business. So thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to have you join the team. So, okay, did I miss any other new faces? Take a sweet, okay. So Colleen is gonna do boards, commissions, and committee orientation and training. So Colleen, take it away.
Awesome. Okay. So this is something that we do for our advisory boards every year. We also do legal training for our quasi judicial boards every year. I get the privilege of doing the administrative boards, and Mike will join in with me on a few slides. And this is going to be just kind of a high level overview of expectations in regards to open meetings law or things like that. And making sure that, especially we have some new folks, understanding the scope of an advisory board versus a quasi judicial board. So this is considered an advisory body. You do not act necessarily by motions and votes. You are gaining consensus. You're not actually taking any legislative type action. You're not approving applications and plans and passing ordinances and things like that. So when you think of quasi judicial bodies, think of city council, think of the planning commission, historical preservation. City council is our local legislative body. They are the ones who set policies and pass by ordinance, laws that govern us as a home rule municipality. And that can be anything from land use to noise ordinances to how we administer liquor licenses, anything that happens within the city that we want to adopt over and above state statute. Council has that responsibility and privilege. They will, hello, Councilmember Peters, how are you? They will adopt ordinances to amend our code. Our code now is codified in-house, so it is codified in real time. And as soon as an ordinance becomes effective, which is not less than 7 days after passage, the code is up to date. So if you ever want to know what our code is on something, it's live. So where did we go? Mike's not up yet. I was just gonna skip stuff. Our charter does serve as the city's constitution. It is our overarching framework for how this city is governed. That being said, I will say there are some things in our charter that need to be removed or amended. Our charter is a living, breathing document, and when it was first established, a lot of stuff was put in the charter that really should have been in the code. Because the only way we can amend our charter is by a vote of our citizens. So it's a question that has to go on a ballot. We can't just arbitrarily take something out of the charter because it doesn't fit there anymore. And so you'll see in election years where we do some charter cleanup and things like that. We did one last year on procurement. We've done some involving the structure of city council, direct elect mayor, things like that. And so that is an ongoing process. The city code serves as our statutes or our local laws. And those are things that council can adopt by ordinance without going to a vote of the people. I have 3 slides on some Envision Littleton and strategic framework. I'm gonna let Mike talk to those.
Yeah, so it's important for all of us to kind of understand how our roles and what we do connects to the big picture, right? Councilmember Andrea Peters, one of our 7 council members, was part of the process that appointed members to the boards this year. And several years ago, our council tasked the staff to work together with the community to draw out what they want the city to look like and be like. And a comprehensive plan was created based on Envision Littleton. And that helped inform everything for us, from the transportation master plan to the unified land use codes and so on and so on. And it helps actually guide us all the way down to what boards and commissions the council wants to have from, for advice and for helping them legislate in the city of Littleton. Currently, the city council is working on a strategic plan for the city. It's based off of kind of, envisioning what does the city, going to look like. On this little graph you're seeing up there, the pinkish red dots represent how involved the city council is in each one of those columns. So when it comes to outcomes, the city council is really, really involved in defining what outcomes we should be trying to achieve as a staff, as a board, as we work towards, trying to deliver on that vision. And so think of that as kind of the high level, a 20-year, kind of outline. What do we want to have results in 20 years based off the work we're doing today? And that drills down to 2 to 3 year initiatives. What are we funding towards, and kind of what are we building our staff and our team, our current budgets, to kind of achieve. And the council is still heavily involved in that, but staff is a little bit more involved in that. And the community and the boards are a little bit more involved in that. But that 2 to 3 years does have some ability to evolve and change each year as we go through things, based off of circumstances and opportunities that might come our way. Then that last column really talks about our annual work plan. So what we're working on, the things, the efforts, the events, and all those things we're doing right now, the council is much less involved in, and that relies heavily on city staff as well as the boards and commissions and whatnot. But that's the budget that was approved for 2024, and what we're working through right now. Our annual work plans really are staff's response to the big vision the council, the citizens defined, and council's identified the outcomes we want to achieve to kind of work towards that vision, and then they lay out the work plans for staff. But we all have a role in helping Littleton become the place that we envision. And so your volunteer work on this particular board is really important, because arts and culture are a vital part of how we want Littleton to be perceived and experienced, in the future as well as current.
And I'm not gonna read slides to you because you're all adults and you can read, and I'll share these with you later, if you'd like them. Just this identifies role of staff. Department staff, is gonna process and review. For you guys, I think you have, grant applications that come through.
Yeah.
And so that's what your department staff, so Tim, Becky, will be working on that. And then if there are any public hearings that are held, these are our quasi judicial boards. They work with the city clerk's office to make sure that we're meeting our legal obligation to get those posted. Staff will prepare reports for the boards. The clerk's office, my role is really to make sure that we're adhering to open meetings law, timely posting of meetings and agendas. We have to do it not less than 24 hours ahead of a meeting. There has to be an agenda attached with specific topics. And when practicable, that's the language in statute, any attachments that go with that. And then our city attorney's office is there to work with staff and my office and city manager's office to provide legal advice. So rules of procedure for all of our boards and commissions is the handbook that you were all emailed. Becky, they got the handbook, yes?
They email and they have a hard copy tonight.
They're awesome. In case anyone didn't know, Becky's awesome. The city, our meetings are run under Robert's Rules of Orders, although it's a slightly loose version. We like to call it Bob's Rules. That's because anyone who knows actual parliamentary procedure, it's boring and it's stuffy. It is boring and stuffy. Then we have council's legislative rules and their standards of conduct and protocol. There are links to those on our website under council's documents. I would recommend, if you have not read them, that you familiarize yourself with them. These are documents that council has adopted for themselves in how they govern their own meetings, and boards and commissions follow council. So anything that council holds themselves to as a standard, they do expect that of their boards and commissions. The open meetings law states that any meeting of any government body, a local government body is 3 or more, a state or county government body is 2 or more. So anytime there are 3 or more of you in a space, and it doesn't have to be a physical space, we'll talk about that in a minute, discussing city business, that constitutes a meeting that needs to be agendized, posted, and open to the public. Now, if 3 of you run into each other at the grocery store, out to dinner, and start having a conversation and realize you're kind of getting into the weeds and step away, that's fine. You know, you can socialize together. It's a small town. You're going to run into each other at events. Just don't talk about company, city business. Anything that may come before the board, because that would be a violation, and then that impacts how our boards and commissions are viewed. We always want to try and do everything. Our commitment is to be as transparent as possible and make that information available to our public at the same time the board is discussing it. So, like I said, it doesn't have to be a physical meeting. This could be a conference call. This could be a Teams meeting. This could be a text group. This could be an email that you accidentally replied all to. And now there's an ongoing conversation about something that you are either working on or is coming up. That constitutes a meeting. I am a big advocate of the BCC option on emails for everybody. That way, if you do hit reply all, you're only getting the person who sent it to you and you don't run that risk. If you're getting together to talk about scheduling availability, if you're sending emails back and forth about that, that's not a meeting. It's once you start talking about actual business that is coming before this board, then we have a violation issue. And social media is another thing we need to be kind of aware of now. If there's a post on the city's webpage or your personal page about something that's coming up and you're all friends on Facebook or Instagram and you start replying to it, you just created an ad hoc meeting and it's a violation. So just be very conscious of what you're doing. We've talked about not less than 24 hours prior to a meeting. The thing to be careful of, if something is not on your agenda, don't discuss it. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't towards the end of the meeting, if you're doing reports and someone says, hey, I want to put this on an agenda at a future date. If you have consensus and people want to do that, that's fine. Just don't have a conversation about it. Don't start talking details. It wasn't agendized. The public doesn't know you're talking about it. And there may be members of the public that would be very interested in that. And then to find out that a conversation has already happened and there was no public notice, that can constitute a violation as well. Ramifications of violating the open meetings law for a quasi judicial board, which would include council, planning commission, any actual action that they've taken. If a complaint was filed, that action could be voided, which means there could be applications that get voided, ordinances that can't be passed. The complaining party could be awarded monetary damages, so it could cost the city. What those costs are undetermined. But equally as important is that the reason that the Sunshine Law exists, the Open Meetings Law exists, is so that we are providing timely notice to our citizens who want to be involved, they want to be informed. And when we fail to do that, we lose that trust. We lose not just the trust in that board, but they don't trust staff at that point. They don't trust the other boards at that point. Because in a lot of ways, we are one large organism. And that to me is like, this is my clerk nerd coming out. It's really important to me that we are as transparent as possible. If someone continually violates open meetings law, it can be reason to be removed from a board. So just don't put yourself in that situation. Every one of you here is because council values what you bring to this table. You were all chosen for this board for a reason. And so we just don't want to risk it. Open Records Act. So pretty much everything we do by and for the city can be construed as a public record. This includes your emails. This is why we ask that you use your city issued emails for any business having to do with this body. For our new members. Now, Joni, you already have a city email from your last board. Yes. So Tim, I have yours and I'll get that information to you so you can get it set up.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Don't use your personal email for city business. And just know that anything you put in email under your city email address can be requested under the Open Records Act at any time for any reason. And so there's no guarantee of privacy unless it is an attorney-client privileged email. And for an advisory board, that is rarely, if ever, going to happen. What isn't a public record? When y'all are working on a document to present to council, working and draft copies, sticky notes, things like that, not a public record. The final copy is a public record. So I always recommend if you're keeping little draft notes and things here and there, as soon as you have finalized a copy, get rid of the rest of it. Because while it is not considered a public record, if someone knows you have it, we don't have a real strong argument not to release it. So just be mindful of that. Know the city charter and applicable code sections. Our charter is a really dry read, but you may want to go in there and look at the sections that have to do with council and with our boards and commissions, and the same with the city code. Know what your authorities are with this board. Tim and Becky are going to help you with that. The city manager's office is there. Council clearly will help you with that. And the clerk's office is always available if you have a question about should we, shouldn't we, can we, can't we. I don't think we have an issue with this board because y'all have done this a bit. Some of you are new, but they'll help you out. You'll be good. We've talked about not having kind of those ad hoc meetings, ex parte communications. Just don't do it. I think it's easy to fall into those conversations. It's very natural, but you have to catch yourself and step away from them. Work through your assigned staff. Tim, Becky, Mr. Dennis sitting over there, way in the corner.
Actually, Anna will be one
and
of
Anna.
our key pieces, yeah.
Hi, Anna. And then also any questions, staff's gonna consult with the city manager's office, with council, with the attorney, with my office. Okay, I mean, you have a lot of support to do what you've been tasked with doing. So
I actually have Colleen on speed dial, so.
One of my favorite pieces. Okay.
Back at you.
That's really all I have. I get to be the one that comes in and says, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Any questions for me? Any questions for Mike about what he covered with Envision Littleton and the strategic plan? And it's okay not to? Yes.
There's, say, a couple people on like Board of Adjustments and then a couple other people on this committee. Like if all those people are talking about city
It
business.
has to be 3 people of one body. Okay? I mean, I would still caution, you know, depending on what you're talking about and where, but it really does, the law applies to 3 people of a given body. This is a singular body. Planning Commission is a singular body. But great question. Anyone else?
I just want to take a minute to underscore, like I've, as a city employee for many years, I've sat through many versions of presentations like this. And I know there's a lot of people in the room who are really familiar with all this stuff. I just wanted to reflect that it can sound like a lot of don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. None of it is intended to regulate who you can't talk to, who you can't be friends with, who you can't hang out with.
Right.
It's purely just to make sure that when business is being done by the body, that happens in the sunshine and open air of the public view. You can
Correct.
still talk with people, you can still have friends, you can still hang out, you can still have conversations, you can still use your email, it's tools there, just when we get into the business of discussing the work of the body, then that's when this comes into play.
Thank you for that, Dennis.
And I would just add one thing to Colleen's comments a little bit ago about your city emails. Joni shared with me that she was having some issues with hers. If you do have issues with your city emails, let us know as soon as you can, so we can pass that along to the help desk with our IT department. We can get those things resolved. But we do need to send everything that's business related from this commission or this board to you via your city email. So if you're having any issues, just let us know. We'll get you some help.
Absolutely. And the clerk's office will do the same thing for you. If for any reason Tim and Becky win the lottery and call in rich and apathetic and aren't available, that's my plan, by the way. It hasn't worked so far.
Do we have to be rich to be apathetic?
No. I told Mike that was my plan. He was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. I'd still come to work if.
I know, yeah.
So just to clarify, especially for those of you that served before, where you approve minutes every meetings, tonight, one of the agenda items is approving the minutes of the last meeting. That'll be the last time that's on the agenda. So, you know, as an advisory body, we're moving forward with recording the meetings, and the recording will be the record. And so if in the future, when you don't see minutes on there, that's why.
And we haven't really talked about a specified time frame for when we get that video up, but the clerk's office is trying to commit to not more than 3 business days after the meeting. And so Becky is recording this and she'll send me a link to the video. We'll get it uploaded onto our website, and it will live on the same page as all of our quasi judicial boards, agendas and videos. So City Council, Planning Commission, everything, that's where your videos will live as well. So people can go back and watch this and relive it. And
If you have trouble sleeping tonight, the 2 meetings last week are recorded and available on our website.
they are for environmental stewardship and next gen. They're there. So
And then I'm gonna be leaving shortly, but I wanted to take the chance to say, this is National Libraries Week. And Dennis and his team just do an amazing job. The Bemis Public Library is one of the jewels in the city of Littleton. If you don't mind, just give them some love here. And well, if not this week, we're less than a month away from Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And we have one of the best municipal clerks in the state of Colorado. If you don't mind giving her some love.
I'm blessed that I have a great deputy as well. So Wendy's not here today.
So,
but
quick
I'm gonna
question.
be doing some
Yes,
research to
ma'am.
find out when National Museum Week.
Yes.
Yes.
So I
Because
have
Tim
not done
deserves
my
some
2
love.
yet.
Tim always deserves some love. Yes, Kate.
So as you're aware, everybody had to re-interview for the Arts and Culture Board. And so as far as terms,
So
Some-
any term that you had prior to re-interviewing,
okay,
now your term was up, so you re-interviewed and you have another 3 years. But if somebody, say their term was up in 2025 or 2026, they will carry that same term. That
Okay.
way we keep everybody staggered and we don't have a whole board going out at one time.
Okay.
But that's a great question.
Just want to make
Yeah.
sure we ask that. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Great question.
Interview them next year. If
Is
it was
that,
up next
if
year.
you're up 25, yes, that's when you would interview again.
Interview practice.
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Remind
signing the acknowledgement page, is that what you're talking about, Roy? Thank you. So in your boards and commissions handbook, there is an acknowledgement page and Becky has given you blank ones. So if you would fill those out, sign them, just saying that you got the boards and commissions handbook, you've read it, you acknowledge receipt, and that you are saying that you will adhere to what is contained therein. And if you would get those to Becky, then she can scan them and email them to me and I will file them. Thank you, Roy, for that reminder. I appreciate it. Okay. Well, with that, I thank you for your time. And
Any other questions for Colleen
yeah,
or for Mike? I mean, we've got him here.
Mike's, yeah.
Are you doing elections, officer elections?
We're gonna let Kate do
We're
it.
gonna do it.
Yeah, we're gonna let Kate do it. Yep. They've got it down.
Yeah,
They know what they're doing.
I'm used to the more junior boards, so you guys are very sophisticated here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Cole.
You betcha.
Okay, so with that said, thank you, Colleen and Mike both. So with that said, we will be doing chair and vice chair nominations and elections. So what I'll do is take nominations for the chair first. We'll go ahead and vote on those nominations. We will do it by a show of hands. And then once that's established, then I'll go ahead and take nominations for the vice chair. We'll go through the same process again. Once that happens, then the new chair and vice chair will take over for the rest of the meeting and follow the agenda that's in place. Okay? Okay, great. So I am now taking nominations for Chair of the Arts and Culture Board. Yes,
I nominate JD.
okay. Okay, any other
I'll
nominations?
second.
Okay,
Is that Denise's?
so we have a first and second. All those that are in favor of JD McCrum as Chair of the Arts and Culture Board, please raise your hand. Okay, any opposed? It was a unanimous vote. Congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Brianna can't vote, so.
Okay, and now I'll take nominations for Vice Chair.
I nominate Denise.
Okay, I will take a second on Denise Weed.
I was,
Okay, Noah second. Okay, all those in favor of Denise Weed as Vice Chair of the Arts and Culture Board? Do I have any nays? Okay, unanimous vote. Congratulations, Vice Chair. Okay, and with that, I will go ahead and turn over the meeting to JD.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
so what was your term? You termed out? Was it?
Yeah, so it's 2 years consecutive.
Oh,
And I squeezed in an extra because the original chair dropped out. So, yeah,
oh. So, and can you just remind me, so how long has the Arts and Culture Commission Board existed?
2020,
Okay,
we're in 2024.
So, fourth year.
it seems, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first chair, remind me of his name, Mike Bratt was here a little over a year and a half. And then he took another position and didn't have time, and then I stepped in, and then I served an additional 2 years after that. So we will do another round of elections next year at this time, for chair and vice chair again.
You can serve 2 terms and then you do cycle out, and then the idea is to keep building new blood within the organization, within the board.
Don't worry, I will be in their ear. So I just stand outside of JD's door.
Thank you for your service, Kate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. And yes, thank you so much for serving as chair and continuing to be a voice on this body and in the economic development. The first thing on our agenda is our final approval of minutes. These are the February 2024 minutes. If there are any corrections or changes that you've noticed, please state those now. And if not, I would ask for a motion to approve. My first motion failed.
No.
Thank you, Joe. Dare I ask for a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kate. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next up, City Council Liaison Report. Peters.
Really glad I heard Colleen's lecture, because now I'm afraid to say anything.
Yeah, we all are.
It wasn't on the agenda, I'm not gonna mention that. To be safe, I think they want me to remind you guys that the boards and commissions dinner is June 13th, and I think that invite will go out in May at some point.
Yeah.
Everybody comes to
I
that.
think Kelly was at about 1st of May-ish.
It's like almost summer already.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And then we have meet and greets throughout the summer, and I feel like any boards and commission people who go up at those things and like invite people and, you know, you're our connectors, I feel like, in the city. Get people excited about what we're doing. The only other thing I was gonna talk about, I hope it's okay, is that I had a really exciting conversation with someone about a boutique hotel, and I only mentioned it because you had asked me this week. But I feel like that hopefully fits in with the plan that, you know, this arts culture master plan that council's really excited to see you produce, right? This board produces that. Yeah. I have nothing else.
Thank you so much.
A quick question about boutique hotels. What does that mean? Is that the number of rooms makes it a boutique hotel, or is it the price point that makes it a boutique?
It's usually a little bit of both.
A bit of both, and it's,
The
yeah,
vibe.
I think it's the size and the vibe. No, I wanna.
Design.
Do you know the answer?
Bougie. Boutique hotels are just a little bougier.
Healthier.
You're gonna say different.
They involve art.
The range of amenities that they have, which
Yeah.
usually correlates with the price.
So a lot of your big ones, so Marriott does have a whole separate area of boutique hotels. But it can also be ownership. So a lot of times it's independent hoteliers versus the big chains can be a boutique hotel.
Okay.
But more and more of the boutique hotels are getting swiped up by the big brands as well.
But like for Littleton, we want, I mean, for our purposes, we want a high price point just for the tax, right? Okay. Got it.
Yeah, but also for events, right? And so, you know, one of the things like Shift, which has a lot of small business. And so they're really kind of evolving. And so as they bring in people to visit for their businesses, we want somewhere for them to stay. That's close to the downtown area, that really treats them well, and that has conference facilities.
And I do
So-
think it's worth noting that for new members and old members alike, the hotels are for the most part totally out of our jurisdiction from an arts and culture band.
Correct.
We really have, there's personal interest and passion for it, to be sure. But it really, whether it's a boutique hotel or a normal hotel or whatever, as long as it's a short stay hotel, where it overlaps with the jurisdiction of the Arts and Culture Commission is through the lodging tax funding mechanism. And that's really the reason that it comes up at all. So for the most part, it won't ever be a part of our agendas. It won't be part of our discussion or action groups. It's just of interest to us. I noticed, Noah, you had a comment or question.
I was just gonna say, like, typically they'll say it's boutique because it fits into the like cultural elements of like wherever it's going. So like, unlike that little outskirts, you know, hotel, like if we're needing we're looking for something for it to do, like to fill a need, like having a convention center or something attached to it, they could say like that's, you know, makes it the boutique because it kind of fits that cultural element.
And it can also integrate public art.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess the only other thing I would say that I'm really curious about, and I was before I got on council, was And I filled out a survey and had some emails this week about short-term rentals and our lodger's tax, and I feel like there's more we could be doing there, and I'm really curious to see how we could benefit this group and arts more through that. Short-term rentals and walking distance, like change the culture. I don't know actually how much Littleton benefits from tourism. We have, I learned 62 short-term rentals in the whole city, which to me feels like a very low number,
Very low.
considering how many
That's
times
just-
I've been looking for laws or people visiting, so.
That's just probably what's been identified. There's probably plenty of other ones that are just flying under the radar, is what my guess is.
I'll bet that's right.
We gotta be like Denver to like seek them out and then we can get some revenue out of it.
All right, well, I'm gonna move on next to the director's report.
You get our investigative reports.
Dennis or Tim, whoever wants to go first.
All right, sure. I won't arm wrestle you for it.
Far away.
As was mentioned, yeah, long distance arm wrestling. As was mentioned earlier, the library is proud to be celebrating National Library Week. We're grateful for the recognition from council in the form of a resolution. We thought it would be a great way to start off National Library Week with a power outage. Not really part of the plan, but that's how it worked out, so we rolled with it. We were happy to recover fairly quickly and be available as a resource to many of the community who, at the time of our opening, and many, as I believe we may still have some people in the community who are still without power or getting it back. So we're happy to be available as a resource to many who are in that unfortunate situation. I and a couple of our staff members were privileged to travel to Columbus, Ohio last week to attend the National Public Library Association Conference, which was very nutrient rich as a conference experience. We came back with heads full of ideas and just exhausted, and are working through the team to look on how we can capitalize on some of the things that we learned and things that we discovered. We launched a new online platform for our event calendaring and registration and room management with the library. Previously, that whole suite of services that we offer was run on very labor-intensive manual processes. We got to debut the new platform on April 1st this month, and it's already been really well received by the staff. I'm happy to say anybody who's interested in booking a meeting room or a study room at the library, you now are welcome to either contact staff, or there's an online portal where you can initiate your registration on your own and you get automated communication about it. So I'd invite you to take a look at that. We are in the second week of April or so, the second week of National Poetry Month, with which we are celebrating with an exhibit on the 6-word story. Many of you may remember that from Ernest Hemingway fame. We're encouraging anyone who's interested to compose as many 6-word stories as they like. They're being posted on the railing around our atrium for all to enjoy and display and see. And our art exhibit in the lower level gallery is the Metro Denver Photography Group this month. So a couple of arts and humanities offerings over at the library. I'd invite you all to come by and see. That's life at the library.
Thank you. Tim?
Just a couple of quick things. First one, just kind of housekeeping more than anything else. Colleen mentioned that this is the last month that we'll be, and Mike also, that this is the last month we'll be doing formal minutes for the Arts and Culture Board. We will be doing notes, staff will be taking notes for all these meetings because we do have to submit 2 semi-annual reports. The dates change recently, so I'm not exactly sure when the first one is due, but I think it's June. So in any event, we'll be putting those together and then we'll bring those into the board to take a look at before they are submitted. So that will come back to you at some point fairly shortly. And then a second time towards the end of the year. Probably the biggest project that we're working here at the museum is a concept master plan for our history gallery, which is the big Littleton history exhibit that we have here at the museum. We refer to it as a permanent exhibit. It's been, with some changes, fairly static for about 20 years. So we have a consulting team that we brought in that's going to help us envision that entire space. One of the first things we're doing is a community engagement piece. So they'll be working with some members here at the board, also community members, various stakeholders in the museum, or to help us with that redesign, revisioning, reformatting that space. So that's something that we'll be going on through this year for concept master plan. We'll do the design phase next year, and then that will give us a number that we'll be taking in for to a future budget, probably the 27 budget. to look at the build out for that space. So big process, but one that we're all excited to be helping with. If you haven't had a chance yet to tour Portraits of Dementia, it is open for 2 more weeks. It has been really surprisingly popular given what the topic matter is. Obviously, Alzheimer's, dementia, not a particularly cheery topic, but it is one that impacts a lot of us, community. And I would say that it is a remarkably positive and uplifting look at that disease. So we've done really positive reviews on it. I'll be honest, we're not sure what we were going to get when we booked this show, but it's one that I think we're really happy that we brought in. So if you have a chance to take a look at it. And then just on behalf of staff, I want to thank Kate for 2.25 years of service as chair of this board, but also your leadership throughout, because you were part of the original steering committee that helped us put together the Arts and Culture Commission at that time. And I think that the distance we've covered in the last 4 years is remarkable. I have heard council members and city managers alike say that this is the most engaged and productive board in the city right now. I think that's true. I think there have been a lot of things that we thought of as maybe were aspirational goals, and they turned out, and they certainly weren't small lifts, but they were also things that we were able to accomplish and do it very quickly and do them well. And now I think with lodger's tax and what we've been able to do last year with our first round of grants and coming into this year's cycle, I think we're poised to really have some significant positive impact on arts and culture, and a lot of that is due to you. So thank you, Kate.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for Tim or Dennis? Okay. Next up is public comment. I believe Ms. Chadbourne, you signed up, and
let's see, just, I don't have time enough to say everything I want to say. When the city clerk presents rules, it sounds very negative. And I want to remind you, you're all citizens, you're all part of the public. And we need more public people here, not less. There shouldn't be none or one of me. We should have many more neighbors involved in all our boards and commissions. So I want to give you that vision, because the positive part of this is that your business is our business. And the more you include us and everyone in the city, the better. And that should be what arts and culture, isn't that what culture is? So of course, this is natural. So the open meeting stuff, think of it as sharing with us who are part of you and contributors to the arts community here. Please, these are good things, not bad. And they're not burdensome if you think of it that way. This is your public servants in here. You're not here for yourselves, you're here to serve this city for the next 80 years. What you do will impact the city. So please do think of it positively that way. I hate losing the minutes. It's much easier to look at minutes as a record than a video. Bad idea, shouldn't have been done. And I do encourage you to have a attachment document along with agendas in what's online. Now, I do want to talk about historic preservation on Littleton Boulevard, and I think that arts and culture includes historic preservation. That isn't part of your package now. Historic preservation should be. There's nothing that creates sense of place like historic preservation. Nothing. And the mid-century modern assets of Littleton Boulevard in 2014 were identified by Colorado Preservation Inc. as one of the 5 most endangered places in Colorado. We have one of the top 3 opportunities in the state. In 2018, we got the survey. We haven't acted on it yet, and we've got to. You heard economic development talk about that. Think of B&Bs and we need design standards and guidelines to protect that character. I know it doesn't look like it now. I have a vision. It includes a circulator bus up and down from Broadway to Santa Fe and to the hotels on County Line, maybe going over to the museum and library. That circulator bus is huge as economic development. It alone would give us what we need. Think of some B&Bs on Littleton Boulevard that are to mid-century modern design standards. That is the vision that I think Littleton, it's the opportunity we have that everybody doesn't. Historic districts raise all boats and are more resilient in economic downturns. That's why downtown is what it is. I want you to be advocates for that and funders, but I want it on your list. I want it as part of your vision. And I don't know how much more time I have, but one more thing I want to mention.
1 second.
Oh, that was it. Conference on World Affairs, Boulder going on. And
What was that, Pam?
Conference on World Affairs in Boulder, one
Oh.
more day tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
So really kind of a cool thing. And their exit through the through the gift office
Gift shop.
is,
It's
is
fancy.
tomorrow morning, so at 9 a.m. So very applicable.
Thank you. Right. Next up on the agenda is old business. We have one agenda item with sub items. So I believe
Several items,
this
yes.
is your show.
I'll try to go through fairly quickly. But I have a few items I just wanted to update you all on. The first is that we have our first of 2 arts and culture board trainings this Saturday at the Epic campus. And thanks to JD for coordinating that with our consultant. We're expecting about just under 90 people to attend that are chairs and board members of, actually we have groups, arts and culture nonprofits in Littleton that will be represented there. So
And when is?
that's this Saturday from 9 to 12:30 at the Epic campus. And I will just be there to support, but it should be a really interesting training session. And then as you all know by now, the grant cycle closes tomorrow. I don't obviously have any final numbers to give to you yet, though we're looking really good so far. And last I checked this afternoon, we had already more grant applications than last year. We had, I think, a total of 33, and I'm guessing, I'm anticipating a lot more will come in tomorrow. So I think that's great news. I don't have the dollar amount yet for grant requests to present, but again, that number is going to change. So let's see. In May, at our May board meeting, we will review tiers 1, 3, and 4. June is the boards and commission dinner, so we will not be having our board meeting for that month. But July, we'll be reviewing all the tier 2 grant applicants. Any questions on that so far? Mural program, just as a quick.
Hey, Anna, can I just throw
Yes,
one
please.
quick thing in, just for again, for the benefit of our 2 new board members? You may have already had a chance to look at this, but the commission last year, now the board, put together a policy that council approved for the distribution of lodgers tax funds. We have, I think it's gonna be about $850,000 to distribute this year. It's in 4 tiers. The first tier is to the big 4 arts and culture entities in Littleton. So that's the museum, it's the library, it's Town Hall Arts Center, and it's Hudson Gardens. And then we have, I think, about $250,000 in tier 2 to distribute to small and mid-sized grant organization or arts and cultural organizations. Those are the grants applications that Anna was just talking about. So those are the 2 big pieces. We also have tier 3, which is arts and culture and tourism marketing. That's $125,000, and the communications department of the city is using that to develop the Visit Littleton website. So that is a piece of it, a piece of the marketing that Cindy was talking about, Cindy and Jamie from their presentation. And then there's a tier 4, which is sort of miscellaneous project. So this year we are commissioning the arts and culture master plan that I mentioned earlier. We have some money in there for the city mural program that the Arts and Culture Commission runs, and for our Culture and Arts Partners Group and the State of the Arts event that was earlier, just last month, a few weeks ago. And then we have we'll have a section that we'll be bringing into you this next year for off-cycle requests, to give us a little bit of flexibility within the commission, within the board, to make awards that don't come in during part of the grant cycle. So we'll make sure that everybody has that policy. We tweaked it a little bit, as you'll recall. Our vet members will recall. So we'll make sure that policy goes out to you when we send out all of the tier information, 1, 3, and 4 for the May meeting, tier 2 then for the July meeting. So make sure you have all of that. And Tim and Joni, if you guys have any questions about any of this as you're going through it, feel free to reach out to Becky or to Anna or to me.
Thanks so much for that overview, Tim. I should not have assumed, Joni and Tim, that you had that base knowledge, but that was really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, you should also mention that the July meeting will be very long.
Yes, yeah.
Although we think we learned some things from last year. Last year's was 5 hours. But we-
Just let them know.
Yeah, we did do all 4 tiers though. And last year we were on an abbreviated schedule because the lodger's tax was we collected that year. We were waiting to get an estimate number to disperse from. And then we had to take a policy into city council. So we didn't actually get that approved until May. So we were 3 or so months shorter than we have this year. This year we'll be able to divide it up and do 1, 3, and 4 in May meeting. 2 is still the big lift. That's the one with all the multiple grants and lots of projects. But yeah, it was a long one last year. We're hopeful that it will be a smaller or shorter meeting this year. I think it will be, but it will be one that will be memorable.
Yeah, so this is April, and then in May, we're going through tiers 1, 3, and 4.
Right.
So is it just expected that we're gonna have about the same amount of money?
Yeah,
And-
I talked to the finance director. She's projecting about a 3.5% increase in revenue from the lodger's tax. So far, through the first 3 months, it's running about there. So that would give us a total of $950,000 in revenue. We have about $100,000 that's the cost of running the grant program and its position essentially. And we'll have $850,000, which is what we had last year to distribute. So we'll be recommending, we'll bring this to the board. We'll be recommending about the same amounts of money in each of the tiers.
You just remind me again, how much went to each one of those 4 entities on the tier 1?
400,000 in tier 1, 250,000 in tier 2, 125,000 in tier 3, 75,000 in tier 4. And that's what we're projecting for tier 2.
Do we collect lodger's tax from that new Springfield?
We do.
That's the
The one
3%?
that's the one on Santa Fe.
Yeah.
There is, yeah. Yeah, that one is bringing in some revenue. I think Cindy said it looks like it's performed about what they were projecting. So, one of the things we have seen is that there's been some decline in sales tax this year. So far, the finance director is not seeing that in the lodger's tax numbers. But again, it's early. We've only got 3 months under our belts at this point. Right now, it's looking like it's holding back a lot of projections.
I apologize for not paying attention, first of all. When did it change to where we're not taking notes? Like on a meeting by meeting basis? Like, I'm assuming we're gonna record via Zoom every meeting, use that technology?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was part of the change that council enacted 2 months ago. Fairly recently.
Yeah.
So it was effective with the new cycle of appointments to the boards and commissions. Boards and commissions now. This is the first meeting under those new rules.
So are they extracting transcripts from those videos?
They are not.
Is there any plan to do that?
Not at this point.
Okay.
I would say that's not very accessible.
Yeah, I was just thinking that the technology exists to basically Teams, Zoom can all do transcripts that you can, that.
Yeah, I don't know what the argument for and against was for that, but that's where they landed.
And this was decided by city council, correct?
Yes.
We, I think, made that decision because it was hopefully less time intensive for staff if they weren't a judicial board meeting. But we didn't talk at all. No one suggested just making a transcript
Right.
from, so. Got that conversation?
I think in terms of accessibility, like if someone can't hear.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this in the spirit of what we learned today. If we'd like to put it on a future agenda as an advisory issue to take up with council, we have that prerogative. But we won't talk about it anymore tonight. Any questions about the policy or
One more
the?
question. So, last year, I thought we talked about Hudson Gardens a little bit about like, were they an equal, like, top 4?
It stays a council decision at this point.
And so nothing has changed, like, okay,
Yeah, the tier one's all 4 states.
okay, thanks.
I think you were about to talk about the mural program.
I was, yeah. I just have a couple additional items old business to cover, and one of them is the mural program.
So we have two potential murals, just as a quick heads up to you all, in different kind of stages of negotiation at this point. One is at the Centennial Academy of Fine Arts up off Federal. Second is a potential mural down at the end of the street at the Littleton Brew Co. They have that large west-facing wall that they're interested in getting funding for. However, the final design will need to be ratified by this board. So that's a potential agenda item for the May meeting, is seeing those designs for you to approve.
Is that both or one?
Just the one,
It's a little funky.
yeah.
Is, who's doing the centennial mural? Is it the
I don't
students?
know yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, the call has not been put out yet.
Oh,
Has that been revisited from the last Fine Arts Board meeting?
Tell me a little bit more about, I wasn't.
At the last Fine Arts Board meeting, it was brought out that the LPS was not going to allow a mural on the building on the outside.
Oh, okay, right. So that's right. LPS policy, apparently, this was set by their facilities team, is that brick cannot be painted. So originally we had planned to do an exterior mural on one of the really big, like federal facing walls of the school. They say they don't want brick painted because it's really hard to remove. Understandable. So we switched and we said we're going to do an interior mural in their cafeteria wall instead. So it's unfortunately not accessible to the public all the time. But that is not technically a requirement in our mural policy yet. So it still falls under, like it can still, it's eligible for funding.
Thank you.
Good question. Let's see, two more items. The State of the Arts event was just 2 weeks ago. It was great. We had an awesome turnout at just about 160 people. So thanks to all of you here who were able to attend. I don't really have much else to say on that, except thank you all for your work in making that happen, particularly the Arts and Culture Award. That was a really wonderful acknowledgement of Sonia Ellingbo and all of the work that she's done over the many decades for the community. So it was a great event. It was really celebratory, and we've heard nothing really but positive feedback about it. So, yeah. This year we will start planning to open up the call for submissions for the award a little bit earlier so we can cast a bit of a wider net. So maybe just start thinking about that now. So that's not officially on any upcoming agendas. And then my last thing I wanted to just talk about quickly was our CAP group meeting. Our next quarterly meeting is on May 1st, and that will be here at the museum. And we will be working with Barefoot PR. They're coming in to present on website account with accessibility.
Website
So I think it should be some really relevant material for a lot of the local nonprofit organizations. Hopefully we'll get a good turnout for that. So that is May 1st. It's a Wednesday from 8 to 10 here at the museum. And you should all have received the invite by now, once or twice. I'll send out another reminder.
What time is it?
8 to 10. And breakfast will be provided.
The breakfast is always good.
Yeah. Tim, would you like me to talk any more about the master plan? I think you've already mentioned, I don't really have much in the way of
Yeah, I
updates
mean,
for that,
it
except.
came up a few times in other conversations. The RFP has gone out for a consultant for the Arts and Culture Master Plan. This is the one that will be the community-wide, again, for our new members. So this is a community-wide inventory of current arts and culture assets and a needs assessment. 2 or 3 other things wound up in it as well. But those, I think, are gonna be big things. And the idea is to do, for the first time ever, really do a top to bottom look at arts and culture here in Littleton and see what we have, see what our assets are, see where the holes lie, and try to figure out some of the action plans going forward. This is the primary action item in the current Arts and Culture Board strategic plan. The idea would be to have this back to staff by the end of this year. We'll bring it into the committee or to the board. I have to get used to that change in nomenclature. Bring it into the board in the first part of next year, and then we will council at the end of Q1 of next year. So we are hoping that we get a robust bite on the applicants. no one has submitted yet, but we were informed by procurement that usually waits till the very last
That's
minute.
right.
So
Yes.
we're not too concerned. It does go through the 26th of
April 26th,
April
yeah.
26th. So that will be something we'll be looking forward to. We probably won't do a lot with the board with that information until we get past the grant cycle in July, but look forward to that, particularly in your August and September agendas. I think we'll probably be pretty full with that.
Are there any other questions on the old business that I covered?
Thank you. That is the end of old business. On new business tonight, we really have one. Is that what you? At this point, I'm gonna do it.
There you go.
Just because
We do it around.
let it roll.
Good call.
We have some appointments to make. And there are 4 unique roles that we have charge over. The first is with the Capital Improvement Sales Tax Board. That is a board assembled by City Council to advise on the input. I'll just read it. It's an advisory board that provides input to the City Council on the use of revenues as a result of the 2021 ballot issue 3A. This body will meet 2 times each year in April and May and will provide a report of funding use to City Council at a study session in June of each year. So that is, as an arts and culture board, we are tasked with assigning one of our board members to that secondary board. Last year, Joe served in that capacity and has indicated a willingness to do so again, but also wanted to make sure that anyone else who might be interested in that role had an opportunity to do so. So let me ask first, are there any questions about what that is? All right. Is there anyone interested in serving on that advisory board? I sort of set you up to fail.
I knew it was gonna be.
Are you willing to serve again?
I'm willing.
Thank you.
And as we don't need to take votes or motions on it, so
These are appointments. by the
Joe
chair.
is appointed to that board. We also, in this body, have 3 subcommittees that we are responsible for, and I am told and believe those are just appointed
Yes, those are appointed by
subcommittee
the-
chairs.
by
So
the chair.
the first is our library subcommittee. The second is our museum subcommittee. Several years ago, council dissolved those 2 independent bodies. They were formerly boards, much like this one was. And for reasons that need not be discussed, we absorbed them under our jurisdiction and charge. And so we need to appoint subcommittee chairs to that one, as well as most recently, the Fine Arts Board was absolved into this body as well, now known as the Public Arts. The Pub Committee on, what is it?
Public Arts Subcommittee.
Public Arts Subcommittee, thank you very much. So what I am prepared to do tonight is to name 3 people to serve in those capacities. And then what I would like to do after that is invite anyone who has interest in also serving on those board and bodies, because we need more than one person to serve. In the instance of in public art and in the museum board, those persons do not have to be members of this commission. My understanding is for the library subcommittee, we need 5 members of this body to serve in that capacity. This year, the scope of the museum subcommittee will be significant and moving into next year.
Yeah, definitely this year, next year, as we move into our next accreditation cycle. Museum has been continuously accredited by the American Alliance of Museums since 1970, so since our creation, almost. So this is kind of the big, I mean, this is the, I refer to it as, Becky loves this.
There you go.
I refer to accreditation as the colonoscopy. Because it's no fun while you're doing it, but it is a really good self-examination. It's good. In any event. I'll see the abbreviated
You
version.
almost stopped yourself. so
I
I'll give you credit.
I almost did, but I'm
I'm
on
glad you
vacation next week, so. In any event, as we work through accreditation, there is a lot more for the museum board subcommittee to do, because we'll be reviewing all of our core documents, our strategic plan, our communities management plan, a variety of master plans throughout the organization. So all of those will have to come to this entity to be approved. And then there will be pieces that they'll pick up also as we do site visits and go through the rest of that process. That'll be the main lift that we will have, but we will also, the Museum Board Subcommittee is also charged with approving any deaccessions from the museum collection. So we will be bringing some pieces in from our collection that we will be requesting to remove. So a couple of pieces that the museum board group would be working. It is also, and I think the same with the library board, it's on call of the director. So it's not something that has to meet every month. It's as needed.
And Dennis, will you expound?
I will expound.
Can you not use the word colonoscopy?
I think Tim used it once enough for the.
I challenge you to work the word colonoscopy.
I'm going
They're
to-
selling it, Tim. Really.
I will carry that and look for a different but equally compelling metaphor. At a later time. In all seriousness, the work of the library subcommittee would look and sound a bit like what Tim described for the museum board. While we don't have I don't anticipate quite as many heavy lifts in the short term. The library is due for and has identified a need to refresh many of its policies and to develop and implement some new ones. And so the library subcommittee would serve as an advisory sounding board, reviewing the policies that we're considering implementing or revising. We also will have need to develop many of the master plans or types of facility plans comparable to what Tim alluded to that are in place for the museum, but they're not in place for the library. And in the out years, starting in 2025, we're due to revise and update the library strategic plan. And the library committee would be an integral part in that process as well. Similarly, we would plan to meet on an as-needed basis.
Thank you. So,
Question.
sure.
So the Public Arts Subcommittee, is that separate from those two?
Yes,
Is someone gonna speak to that?
I will start, Tim, with you, and then I think I'll put the asterisk on it first. It used to be the Fine Arts Board.
Okay,
It is now the Public Art Committee, Subcommittee.
Okay.
And I think there is some learning to be done as that forms and comes together. So when we speak to it tonight, let's understand that it's new and part of what happens throughout the course of this year, be figuring out and to some degree memorializing what that looks like moving forward. So I'll start, Tim, with you.
But much like what happened with the museum and library board, when those two independent groups, boards were moved under the Arts and Culture Commission, their mission and charges also moved under the commission. Now, the Arts and Culture Board. So that will happen also with what was the Fine Arts Board. Now will probably now be referred to as the Public Arts Board. So a lot of what we do in terms of acquisition of public art still has to go through a vetting process. The way the process worked in previous few years is even if a project like a mural originated with the Arts and Culture Group, that design was vetted and approved by the Fine Arts Board and then moved forward for essentially for funding approval just from the commission. In the short run, we will probably do that as a committee of the whole. But ultimately, what we like to do is work with Joni and like Jenny Hankinson, who is our staff liaison for years with the Fine Arts Board, to figure out exactly what those responsibilities look like now that they're under the Arts and Culture Commission. But in the short run, and I think ultimately probably their responsibilities will be very similar to the Fine Arts Board.
So, and I will, with brevity, I think Denise, you've served on the Fine Arts Board. Kate served on the Fine Arts Board. I'm gonna let Joni, you comment first and add to anything that Tim did, and then if there's anything.
So the other piece we're working on are the traffic boxes. So the painted traffic boxes within the city limits. So as the city releases them that they're, available to be painted, Jenny's got a whole process for us to go out, put it out, all get the selections, and then we made the decisions who would get to do it. So that and the murals.
And the murals. So I think that, again, we'll figure it out this year. I'm a big advocate of more work happening sometimes in these and longer discussions, so while we will probably look at the mural as a group in May, just because of timing and allowing these subboards to get under their feet. My hope is in the future that if you want a voice in those types of things, please be encouraged to join the subcommittee, because that's where I would like the most robust conversation to happen. And then in this body, it's more updates and not rehashing what a subboard has already gone over. I think that it's difficult to say at this point what the time commitment will be on those, and certainly we will flux and be understanding if people have to step off or come on based on that time commitment. And so I would ask you to submit your interest to being on these boards based on your interest and passion, and we'll figure out logistics and see what works. But we don't have any of that figured out at this point.
We don't, and one other thing I would add to what Joni and I have already said. As you'll recall, for our veteran members again, council the year before last asked that as we went into the first cycle with the lodger's tax, that we look at moving public art acquisition, which had been significantly underfunded for years and years and years, out of the general fund and into tier 4 of the lodger's tax. We weren't able to do that in the first year because the revenue projection went down pretty significantly by the time we got to the fourth quarter. But staff is planning to bring in a recommendation to the board in tier 4 of the lodger's tax for some amount of money for public art acquisition. That would go through the selection and acquisition would go through this public arts board subcommittee.
What happened to the budget that the Fine Arts Board did have for acquisition?
It went away out of the general fund last year. It was going to go into tier 4.
Okay.
It had to come out this year because of that was so last minute. This year we have a lot more time to plan for.
Can I ask one more question?
Please.
So in terms of the subcommittee for the library, the museum, and the fine arts board, how many people do you need for each?
We know that we need 5 on the library board.
Mhm.
I don't think we have a number for the other 2.
3 to 5 would work.
And again, for those other 2, if we only have 2, we must have 1 commissioner. I'm sorry, board member. I would love to see 2 or 3.
Okay.
Because again, my hope is that those groups can do the bulk of whatever work and bring it to us for consideration, for action, but not for robust conversation. So with that, and we can ask more questions at the end, I am, again, using my newfound power.
It's not new.
It's actually in the bylaws.
It's new to me. I am going to name Kate as the chair of the library subboard, Denise as chair of the museum subboard, and Joni as chair of the public art subboard. And then again, ask for, and you don't have to do it right now, you can ask more questions, but at the next meeting, at our May meeting, my intention is to name those bodies. So catch Tim, catch Anna, catch Becky, catch me on the way out the door. Dennis, sorry,
No worries.
can't sit over there.
What I get for being late.
It's and throw your name in the hat. And quite frankly, if each subboard ends up with 11 members,
Perfectly fine.
I'm fine with that. Do what you're interested in and what you can commit to as far as time goes, but don't hesitate to throw your hat in, and if you need to step out in a month or 2, that's okay also. I believe that concludes the business on the agenda. Sir,
Put me down on the museum.
say that again?
You can put me down for the museum, so.
I'm interested as well.
In museum? Museum.
I'm interested in the fine arts, or the public art.
I'll do library.
I would throw my hat in the ring for the library as well.
And I'll do library as well.
I'm trying to write something else writing too.
Did you know that?
I'm trying to catch him. So
Let's do this. Museum, raise your hand. Okay. Hands down. Library, raise your hand. Hey, you don't need to raise your hand. Yeah. Library also?
Yeah, I could do library too.
Public art.
Can we do more than, can you be on more?
You-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be on as many as you
We'll
want
be
to.
on public art.
Public art for Noah as well.
And I am interested in museum, if you need more people. If you don't need more people, that's fine. Or I could do public art if you need more people. Especially if they're not morning meetings.
We try to.
Yeah, when are?
We'll try to, I think what we'll do is, instead of trying to figure that now that we have some interest lists, we'll coordinate and make some suggestions based on staff
I
availability.
can't do
and-
morning meetings,
I can't either.
so.
And I didn't get everybody here, so what we'll probably do is reach out to you via email and ask you to send us an email back. I got some of them, but I know I didn't get everybody.
I did.
I think I got it.
Oh. Of course, Becky's got it, so.
I think I do.
We've also got the recording.
We also, for that too. So we will send out some emails confirming with everybody. Thanks.
Very good. That brings us to the end of the agenda. There's no other items for the good of the board. I'm going to officially adjourn and then do a members roundtable, just because as it gets into what's happening and grandkids or whatever, I think that's less business and more need to know. So we'll call us adjourned, and then Kate, anything that you've got going on?
We good with ending the recording?
I well, tell me from a legal perspective, not doing business, we're just doing updates.
More than three of you though.
Yeah, I think you have to continue.
Okay, keep going then.
So both the symphony and Voices West have performances coming up, so please go onto their website for tickets. They certainly need our support. And then, just congratulations again to everybody that showed up at, State of the Arts. It was incredibly successful. Sonia and her family were so incredibly touched. And what we need to remember next year is to honor all of those that were not.
I have a note for that. It was in the program written, but we neglected to say it.
We needed to do that. And again, I want a big thank you to Emily for starting the whole process. Because what came out of that was incredible. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for such a good job. That event was really special.
It really turned out nice. So, okay, that's all I got.
Okay, hi, I'm Joni. Nice to meet all of you.
What's your background, Joni?
What's my background?
Give us the scoop.
Let's see, I've been harassing Tim for quite a few boards now.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, I am a potter and that would be my dream job, but I'm also the postgrad specialist at Heritage High School. So I know way too much about LPS.
But did you say that do you teach at?
I am the postgrad specialist, the career college counselor.
Oh.
So I'm the one that sends all your kids' transcripts out.
How do you feel about the FAFSA
I beg your pardon, how do I feel about the FAFSA?
lately?
Are we on tape?
Yeah,
I dislike the FAFSA intensely. It is terrible this year.
It's under a lot of scrutiny right now.
Oh, it's awful. It's so bad. So,
But you're also a
it was
potter.
the best intentions. Yes, and I will be in row H 28 for our Friends of the Library and Museum craft fair.
So she
Come out.
not only harasses me as a board member, she does it as a vendor as well.
I do, so it's good, good. Make functional pottery, it's yellow cat pottery, so. It's lots of fun.
Sounds like you
Functional.
can't miss it.
I'm sorry?
Sounds like you can't miss it.
Can't miss
Yellow
it.
cat pottery.
You can't miss it, you can't miss me.
But for our two members, so we go around the room and just talk about what arts and culture events we'll be attending, what we have knowledge of. If we're in any shows, we go ahead and promote that at that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dennis Quinn, I've had the honor of serving as the city's library director for about 9.5 months now. Previously in public libraries in the state of Texas, where I'm natively from. Before I was in libraries, I was in music. So that's my both professional and personal connection to the Arts and Culture Board.
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just, I would say like creatively inspired to be connected to all things art. I recognize the value of art within our city. and I'm the gifted and talented facilitator. I was at Franklin Elementary, Highland, and now at Gaskill. And so I have a lot of students who are creatively and artistically inclined, and I fight for programming for them because often it's centered around other academia. And so I want their values to be encouraged. And so I try to bring in high schoolers to the elementary to encourage their artistic things. And I just see it as a talent that I don't necessarily have, but something that needs nurturing.
I just want to double down on that. I do not have those talents. I'm amazed by them, and so I use my powers of passion to help advocate for them in ways that I don't have. Professional life, I'm a consultant, I do technology, so I stare at things like this mic array and the cameras and TVs, and I design those kinds of things in my professional life.
Art-wise, I'm a singer. Littleton Chorale, Columbine Chorale, Nova Chorale, in this area. And I also served 3+ terms on the Arapahoe County Cultural Council, which distributed SCFD funds for the county of Arapahoe. Making recommendation to the Arapahoe Board of Commissioners for the distribution of the SCFD funds every year. So I have a little experience.
I'm not artistic at all. I do enjoy it though. I am a teacher at this point in my life, so. Other than that, if there's anything else to say.
What do you teach, Jeff?
Social studies at this point. I've taught a number of grades and a number of subjects over the years, so.
What's the worst grade?
I don't know, I teach junior high right now, so it depends on what you guys think.
Wow. I think that's it right there. My daughter's in junior.
Mine's going there next year.
Are you at Euclid?
I teach at actually Littleton Prep.
Okay. Thank you for your service.
So welcome to the new members. First of all, it's good to have you. Joni and I too have been in Tim's ear for years on various boards. So yes, he knows us well. I don't have any events to add, but I usually like to bring Littleton Ballet events. So hopefully we'll have some soon. Personally, art lover, I have a music background. I like to write, and I do want to say the 6-word stories are excellent if you make it over to the library. There are some that will tickle you and some that are pretty, they'll make you think. That's all I'll say. But there are some really good ones over there right now, and I need to come back and see what else you have. So go check them out.
Michelle, and I don't have any events to add, but reminder to the people that have been here and to the new people, I studied poetry, and now I've been a technical writer for 30 years. So I love words, which I know is a different kind of art, but I love them. So I do like that kind of art. And interestingly, now today, a lot of my writing is back down into like microcopy. And especially with AI, it's really shifting, and like that sort of poetry feel for just getting the one right word or the 6 right words or whatever is becoming hugely important. So it's really fun.
I'm Katie Karen. I run the Art and Design Center at Arapahoe Community College. Circa last week, I was hired to do that. So previous, thank you, I'm very excited. Previous to that, I have been working at ACC for 10 years, running the ceramics program. Joni, so come grow pots with us. We have a big ceramic studio over there. And the studio art program. So I actually have a lot of announcements. For April is the hot month in college for all the arts and culture events. So get ready. So Tonight, right before here, I was the capstone exhibition in the main gallery. So it's our students who are graduating. They have their capstone exhibition. They've been torturing me all semester and they finally made it. So I'm very proud of them. In Jansen Gallery, which is the one in the Art and Design Center, there's a show called Biomimicry, which is a collaboration between the biology department and the ceramics department. So there's some really cool ceramics pictures there. And we are preparing for our Aspen Grove pop-up show. I will be doing that all day tomorrow. The opening is next Thursday. So please come. It's from 5 to 7. It's free and open to the public. We also have 3 murals that our students did at Aspen Grove. One that's on, it's actually the pop-up space that we're using used to be Rocks Gallery, so we'll be there. And then our mural is on the Kirkland, which is near Alamo Draft House on the other side. So our students worked really hard on those, and those were public voted on murals. So the city of Littleton voted on those murals. And then the last thing, we have a public art project at the Highline Canal Conservancy, and students were funded by the Museum of Outdoor Arts in Englewood to create an installation there. So we'll be installing that the following week, and there'll be an opening for that. So if it's okay with you guys, can I just send you an email with all the events?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Katie, do you just want to send it to?
Yeah, I will.
We can distribute it to
Great,
everybody.
because it's a lot.
Yeah.
And there's the pottery sale.
Right.
Very important.
Always look forward to those.
Very important.
I love this question. When I was here the first time and I didn't know it was coming, I was like, how many arts things do I do? So I'm trying to pay more attention and got to see Shrek at the DCPA this last month. I was in Washington DC for a city conference. I got to see the symphony at the Kennedy Center, which I've never been to. It's amazing. I also went to one of my fellow council peoples did an orchestra for Easter at DU, and she invited me to that, which was beautiful. And my son went. I was very proud of him. Sat through for an hour and a half. And it's dance season, and my daughter's a dancer, so lots of dance competition. And Voices West, I'm taking my niece because their next show is all Disney tunes, right?
Yes.
April 27th, so excited about that.
First of all, thank you for adding me to the council, and I'm really happy to be here and just here to listen and learn and absorb and figure stuff out from you guys. I wanted to second what you were saying. My wife works at ACC as well, Monica Fugel. I don't know if you know her.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
yes.
so the capstone shows we go every year and they're always excellent. They have a lot of really talented kids down there, so it's worth checking out. I think there's one more week left for Raisin at the Town Hall Arts Center, which I saw it Sunday, and my wife actually ran a talkback session with the cast afterwards, and it was awesome. It's a really cool show. It's based on Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun play, but it's a musical version. Great dancing. There's not even really a central character. Everybody in there is just really flowing together, so it's a lot of fun. So as far as my background goes, I've lived here in Littleton since 2005, and my children have grown up in this facility and at the Bemis, and we just love these places. There's wonderful family spaces, and I run my own small software consultancy out of my home. Basically, I've worked from home since about 2009, and from an arts perspective, I've been a musician pretty much my whole life. Play guitar, bass, drums, sing, stuff like that. I haven't been as active lately as I'd like to be because life, but still do some of that. And for about 3.5 years, I actually ran a writers group at the Bemis down in the basement there. We called ourselves the Littleton Writers Consortium, but I kind of joined it to check it out. And then the person who started it moved a month later and kind of dumped it in my lap. So next thing you know, I was running a writers group for a few years, but that was a lot of fun. We brought in local writers. We brought in people from the publishing side to kind of speak to people on how to get things out and stuff like that. So that was pretty fun. It kind of came to an end with the pandemic, but and then on top of that, I've helped produce a couple of feature films. So just some friends of mine who have made movies. One of them actually just got released on DVD this week. And the other one isn't out yet, but that's kind of where I'm coming from, those fancy art stuff.
A lot of experience.
A little bit, well, I just hope I can be of service. That's all I'm here to do.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Are we going? I thought we were skipping staff.
Yeah,
Anna got out.
Ah,
You can pass.
She gave me the look.
I'm Tim,
I got
I'm
that.
museum director. Dennis has been here about a year. This is my 22nd year. I have no artistic or musical ability. My wife has one rule about my singing, and it's don't. You've enforced that for a long time too. So Becky is less successful, Anna's less successful. So
Mixology is an art.
that's a fair point, sir.
You are a writer.
Yes. Yeah, well.
You're published.
So my name is JD McCrum. I've been on the Arts and Culture Commission now. I think this is my 4th year as well. And coming off of a term on the Town Hall Arts Center board, but very plugged in throughout the community. I think that what I'm most excited about with this group, and frankly, this time in our city's story, is there is so very much going on. And I am hopeful that as a body, our meetings can be informed by presentations from economic development. I think there's not fewer than 3 or 4 master plans in the process or recently been adopted by council or presented to council. All of them have arts and culture implications. I am on a quest to inform all of you of all of those things that are going on, because what those things do is they overlap the policy and the programs that we administer and complement all of the things that are happening throughout and around the city that we just touched on in the last 10 minutes as a group. And so bringing those 3 things together is what I believe will most inform this board to make an impact and to make strong advice and counsel to our legislative body. So I hope that you will forgive those presentations as they come in. I think that a president, if you didn't watch it, Dennis and Tim just both presented to City Council. I would love very much for you both in the next couple months to present to this body about the library, about the museum. Arapahoe Community College has so much going on. Littleton Public Schools has so much going on. There are so many things happening. And I think that we will be better for knowing and having at least a broad understanding of what that is. And then as we look through our programming, the mural program, the CAP program, the all of the different things that we have going on, and getting twinge bits of updates from those groups every month as applicable, and then taking that and applying it to the big things that we're undertaking, be that the master plan or the lodging tax grant awards, and begin to add on to that so that we can move forward as a robust and very informed body. So that's sort of my goal for the year. I am very happy to hear ideas for what we should be talking about and what you want to hear about and who you want to hear from, so that we can populate those and try to look out. As Colleen was presenting tonight, it occurs to me that at least as I experience the world, it is very hard to distinguish between the role on this commission and all of the arts things that we participate in and that we see each other at. It gets confusing. And I think the best way that we can then ensure that we are governing well and advising well is by knowing exactly what this body is going to be tackling throughout the year. So that if something's coming up on the agenda, we know we're not supposed to talk about it outside, versus a more abstract wait until the week before and see what we might be talking about. So those are my objectives, and I'm very anxious to hear yours. So please offer them, and I appreciate every single one of you. And it's almost 8:30 and won't go past that. I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a long day.